Got a question for MG Chan. You spoke of the importance of keeping society cohesive and how that is what you want to be doing. Given that Singapore society is evolving and you have more and more segments of society with different aspirations, different dreams, and different ideas of how Singapore can move ahead, how do you propose to do that?
Thanks, Xueying, for the questions. You are right. As society evolves, there will be more diverse groups with more diverse aspirations. The challenge for us is to find a common space to move the country forward. And it takes, I would say, 2 sets of maturity. The first set of maturity has to be that we are much more open, much more willing to listen to diverse opinions. This is where Marx comes in useful. He has his thesis, antithesis, and our job as leaders is to find the synthesis to move it one step higher. So the leadership must be much more able, much more willing to engage different segments of society. So this is one side of the coin. But the other side of the coin about building a cohesive society is also the maturity of ourselves as citizens. Which means that as we put forth our different ideas, different agenda, different aspirations, we must accept that we cannot always have it our way to the detriment of everybody else. Because if everybody plant a stick and say that this is what I want, regardless of what the rest of society thinks, then it becomes very difficult. I give you an example. Supposing today we have a new issue that comes up, and I go and consult all the reporters here. Say I take the first 10 reporters on the first row, and I ask you for your opinion, right? There are 2 possible outcomes, or maybe 3 possible outcomes that can come from this. One is that after we have listened to all the 10 opinions of the 10 members of the press from the front, we all collectively come up with a clever 11th idea. Right? So we can all go away happy that we have an 11th idea that is better than the 10th. Or the 10 can go back unhappy and say that, you asked me for my opinion, but you didn't take my suggestion. Right? Now, if we don't have that maturity in discussion, then it's very difficult. Likewise, if I ask, in the second scenario, I ask for 10 opinions, when we decided, or I decided, or collectively we decided that one of the ideas is the best, or we adopt one of the ideas. Must the other 9 become very sad? You felt that you have been excluded? Your ideas have not been listened to? It cannot be, right? Now, so this is the challenge. You need maturity on both sides. I think on the part of the leadership, we must be much more open, willing to engage and discuss difficult issues with our people to help everybody understand. On the other part, the people who are taken into confidence in such sensitive discussions must also understand that it is not always possible for us to have all that we aspire and all that we want. There must be this desire to find the biggest possible common space for the good of Singaporeans as a whole, not any particular group. That cannot be. Someone say, right, total freedom will just means stalemate for everybody, right? So it can't be. So as society becomes much more diverse, much more complex, like what you say, we must all build in ourselves this spirit of both listening and at the same time taking in other people's suggestions, knowing very well that so long as we have done our best to contribute to society, even if our ideas is not the eventual one that is accepted, we have done our part. That is a continuous process that we cannot take for granted going forward.
First question for Dr. Ng. Oppositions have shared their manifesto and their promises to the constituents recently. So what are the plans for PAP to do so? Is it coming out soon for your manifesto? And second question for Ms. Iman. We understand your husband is working overseas. Is he already back in Singapore? And if it's not, how are you going to balance between the needs of your family as well as the needs of your constituents?
I'll leave Simen to decide whether she wants to answer personal questions about our family. But your question, the answer is yes, and very soon.
I'll take this question from Li Kiang. It's true that my husband has been based overseas for quite a number of years, but I'm expecting him back in Singapore very soon because he's completing his overseas contract. As for how we have been coping for the past few years, I think a family is more than just wife and husband. So I have quite a lot of support from my parents, for instance, and also from time to time members of the extended family. And that has actually allowed me to balance my professional work, time with the children, as well as community volunteering, which I have enjoyed very much. Thank you.
I have a question for Minister. You say that PAP is focusing on people with ministerial caliber this time around, so as to build a fourth generation core team. Can you share with us who are these people? Who are your best catch?
I gave you the numbers in terms of the ages to underscore the urgency to make sure that we had a succession. And obviously, if you do the maths, you need a core team to form the fourth generation leadership. I would say that a good number, more than any other elections that I can in the past, that this batch will have the most number of office holder potentials.
The question goes out to you as well, Dr. You said about most of them will be office holder potential. Does that include the 2 Malay candidates as well?
It's obviously not. PAP does its internal assessment, and our first deliverable for this new slate of candidates, we asked ourselves, can they take over PM said within 2 terms? Are there enough people with potential to take over? And the answer is yes. I think that's, if the people trust us and vote our slate of candidates in, then PAP can rest a little easier saying that we've done our part. We have put in place a fourth generation leadership that can take us beyond 2020. We'll give them the opportunities. As to who specifically, you can understand why. I don't think it's in the interest of everybody to name them. I mean, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy sometimes. But the people have to prove themselves on the ground. So I think over time, they will have to prove themselves on the ground. One, to be able to connect with the people on the ground, because you have to take care of a constituency. That's our system. And secondly, to show that you have the capabilities of a leader to mobilize people, to persuade people, to be able to understand and offer creative solutions. Then collectively, both Singaporeans and the leadership will assess whether they are in a position to take over, become office holders and ministers.